big football game tonight, but we're not going to discuss it. But we got a lot of other things that we're going to discuss. Marco D'Angelo joining us. He's going to take apart Michigan State at Boston College, Denver at Tampa Bay. And after that, we've got Ross Benjamin. He's going to look at Ohio and Kentucky. And I'm very interested to hear his handicap on the Detroit Lions playing Arizona. Dave Sharapan will end the show, and we will talk about Thursday Night Football with Dave. I promise you that. Teddy covers. He's got a big game breakdown. It's on the San Francisco 49ers game. And if we get 100 likes, I will take apart the Kansas City game with Atlanta going on Sunday night. Teddy, what are you going to discuss and what did bettors learn?
We have to talk about something that came out of Southfield, Michigan this week. A new betting scandal that's worthy of note. We'll break that down in what bettors learned. And as Lawrence said, big game breakdown. Of course, we're talking NFL. And of course, we'll have analysis on Jets Patriots tonight when we talk to Dave Sharapan later in the show. Lawrence?
There you go. Guys, if you want to hear any games that you want to hear in the daily presidential address, I don't need to do the KC game. I'll literally do any single game you want except tonight's game. Why? Because I have a 4% on tonight's game, and I put it up as the $5 Tuesday play. And if I give it out, which I'm happy to do, customer service is going to have 1 million emails. So, with that said, Marco D'Angelo joining us. Marco, lots of love, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Prez, and I will give you 30 seconds on tonight's game. I will tell everybody that I did break this game down in detail on the Bet On It show, but from a total standpoint tonight, I expect a low-scoring game in this game. You've got two of the better defenses matching up tonight with New England and the Jets. And again, on these primetime games, generally, you're going to have that edging towards a little bit of value on the unders because the bookmakers know, and when you talk to Sharapan later, that would be a good question for him on these standalone games. They tend to pump the line, shade it towards the over, knowing that's where generally the money comes because people don't want to sit and watch and root for unders. But I do expect this one to be a low-scoring game. So there's a little freebie there for you on tonight's game. How's that?
Well, aren't you wonderful, Marco D? So, guys, curious what you guys think about tonight's game, if you've got any bets that you want to put up in the chat room. Marco, let's get into some actionable information. Michigan State at Boston College. If memory serves, and there is a rumor out there that I do sometimes listen to Teddy's big game breakdown. If memory serves, you did this game or another guest did this game. Somebody, Adam Trigger. So we have done this game this week, and I think they were on Michigan State. Where Correct. Are you going, Marco?
All right. Well, I didn't know that somebody did this game, but I'm on Michigan State too, and this is one of my I like this angle. It's one of my favorite angles I look for in college football. When you get a big underdog, have a big effort, and then come up just short, I like to fade them the next week, especially if they go from dog to favorite. Boston College fits that mold this week. Last week, they went to Missouri. They were a big underdog, and they took Missouri to the limit, only losing by 6, 27-21. So looks like knee-jerk reaction right away. What are you going to do? You're going to come back and take them laying points in a bounce-back mode against the Michigan State team that, flying under the radar. They've really only played one big team. They played Maryland on the road 2 weeks ago. They got the upset there. But I'm looking at this Boston College game, and if you dig deeper into last week's game, they were outgained 448 to 298. So a little bit misleading in the box score on a 6-point game there. Look at the other two games they did. Yeah, the first week of the season, remember Labor Day night, 15-point underdog. They upset Florida State and everybody, Bill O'Brien, wow. How good does that win actually look now with what we've seen from Florida State since then, 0-3? And then the middle game, they played Duquesne and just beat them to death, 56-0, pure and simple. Duquesne's a small school out of Pittsburgh. That was a payday game for them. Take that game to take the beat down to get some money. I like Michigan State in here. Give me a good dog getting points. That's where I'll go every time. I think this is a field goal game. And don't be surprised if Michigan State comes out on top, 23-20. I got Michigan State on top.
So I'll start my follow-up with this. I agree 100%. And if I'm playing this game, it would only be on the Spartans. All right. So my follow-up question is limited in that regard, because that's the only way I'm looking at this ball game. But I want to ask you, you talked about, well, the Boston College win over Florida State doesn't mean that much now. And, they've gotten too much point spread about. And conceptually, that bugs me. Because part of the reason that Florida State lost last week is because they lost the previous week to Boston College. And like each domino helped the next domino fall. When BC played Florida State, it wasn't necessarily the Florida State team that was 0-3. It was the Florida State team that was 0-1 and trying hard still, or whatever. Talk to me about that concept, because I see that a lot in college football, especially this time of year. Well, this team beat that team, so therefore, look better than it is or look worse than it is. Talk about that common opponents theme, or do you understand what I'm saying? It's not a well-developed follow-up question, but conceptually, I think you know where I'm coming from.
I know where you're coming from. I'm a guy that I generally don't like to compare opponents, like when they have common opponents. People look at, especially like in the NFL. But Teddy, my answer to you would be, and you're a guy that when you handicap, and there's a lot of guys, that do their own power ratings and everything else, you make adjustments as the season goes on from week to week, whether it be because of injuries or what you actually see with your eyes. And there's no question that you look at Florida State coming into this season, and what we do is we pick up where they left off last year. Remember, this is a team that was undefeated last year and didn't get to go to the playoffs because they lost their quarterback and got snubbed by the committee, and rightfully so, because they ended up getting blown out in their bowl game. But people had high expectations coming into the year. I don't know one person that hasn't adjusted their power ratings on Florida State after the first 3 weeks of the season. You have to do that. So when I make that comment that it doesn't look as good now, it is simply stated Florida State is not rated the same as we did going in. You have to make adjustments as you go through the season.
Marco D'Angelo joining us, everyone, co-founder of WagerTalk Media. Not .com anymore, baby. 3 different companies under that banner: the Gold Sheet, WagerTalk, and Sports Memo. Marco, let's turn our attention to this Denver Tampa Bay game. And we got Tampa Bay at -6.5. This game fascinates me. I keep asking myself, is this Tampa Bay team for real? Are they as good as they look? I do think Denver is what they are. I think they will squeak out a couple of games here and there this year, but I think they've shown us who they are. The question is, who is Tampa Bay, and how do we bet this game?
Well, full disclosure, guys, and he'll be a shameless plug for that other show I do, Bet on It Again.
Yeah,
I have a segment every week that we do Sandwich Game of the Week, and this game was the runner-up to the Sandwich Game of the Week. So I figured, you know what? I love Prez and Teddy so much, I'll share a second sandwich, because I know you guys could always eat something.
Montreal smoked meat, baby. That's the one I want.
This one. This is a perfect sandwich spot. You've got Tampa Bay, and I say it all the time, guys. Revenge is the most overused term in sports betting, except when it comes to playoff revenge. And last week, Tampa Bay went to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions, who knocked them out of the playoffs last year. That was a huge game for Tampa Bay. They caught Detroit, I might add, in a rarity, back-to-back weeks playing teams they eliminated in the playoffs the year before. So Tampa Bay got the win. Now they're coming back home. Revenge, that had to be a very satisfying win for them. And look at who they have on deck. They got Philadelphia. Granted, Philly's only 1-1 to start the season, but Philadelphia is a team that everybody feels is going to be one of the contenders in the NFC. They're one of the favorites to make the Super Bowl. So you've got, off of revenge, you've got Philly on deck, and what's in between? the 0-2 Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback. Now, the rookie quarterback part of it is the asterisk to this, because I'm going to give you a stat that I got in. This is one I'm sure Teddy knows about as well. I got it from Ralph, confirmed it this morning. You take 0-2 road dogs in week 3 blindly. Since 2014, that's a 64% against the spread winning mark. These are desperate teams. We all know that if you go 0-3, your chances of making the playoffs are minuscule. They will take chances in the game because they'll do everything they can do to win it. And given the spot here with the sandwich, I think it all adds up to Denver pulling an upset. I know Bo Nix has not looked good. 5 interceptions or 5 turnovers in the first 2 games, but he did face a couple good defenses. I'm not sure how good this Tampa Bay defense is. I think Denver has thrown the football too much in the first 2 games. I look for more of a balance in this one, and the reason being that Denver is facing a rushing defense from Tampa that's given up 138 and 139 in the first 2 weeks for nearly 5 yards per carry. I think they can have a little bit of success and keep things a little bit balanced and pull off the upset.
So Denver's offense hasn't worked. I mean, it really hasn't. They scored 1 touchdown so far this year. That touchdown came, just outside the 2-minute warning after a drive against a prevent defense when their opponent was up 2 scores in week 1. That's the only touchdown they have all year. All right. You're taking them catching less than a touchdown here, which means they're going to have to score something. Do you really trust? And again, Bo Nix, in 2 games as a pro, has already turned the ball over more than he did his entire senior year in college, which is what we expected from the 5th quarterback taken in the first round. So this is my question. Can Denver actually score? Because I'm not convinced they can.
They're going to get better. They're going to get better as the time goes on. But let's not forget, they didn't play 2 slouches defensively. Seattle's not that bad defensively, and we know the Steelers are, nails defensively. So they're stepping down. But the one question you said that I would, if I was on the other side and you were talking, that I would have interrogated you with, and you said, they can't score. And here in Tampa Bay's laying 6.5. I'd ask you, why isn't it the full touchdown?
Because that's where the markets have decided it should be.
That's so smug, Marco.
And why haven't the markets
you were
pushed
so
it to
smug
7?
there. You were so smug there, and honestly, for no reason. Like, yeah, Teddy, why isn't it a 7? Mic drop. Like, what?
Well, because Prez, if you shut up, you'll learn something for a second. When I see a key number of the 3, whichever side it is, the 2.5 or the 3.5, it's a big difference. It's the same way with a 7. Where it's at on the 6.5 to the 7.5, I know there's people that just bet numbers, but to me, that is telling me something about the game, especially if it's one-sided betting and it doesn't hit 7. That means there's sharp money that's resisting letting it get to 7. That there, as soon as there's a 7,
at 7. You bet it down. It opened at 7 at. Let me just get this. We open at 7 at Bet Online, open at 7 at South Point, open at 7 at Circa. So they've already taken the 7s down to 6.5, which is where it's sitting right now. Marco, what else do we have for you? Anything to promote? Have you done that already?
Yes, I got a special going this week. You can get 7 days, all access of my service. Use MD77. You'll get 7 days, all plays. That's not just football. It's basketball, WNBA, it's baseball. And we do have a 5% play going this weekend. I've only had 11 5% plays since February. We're 9-2 with them. If you buy that game by itself, it's $35. You do this, you get 7 full days for $77.
Marco D'Angelo, outstanding stuff, dude. And yeah, man, your 5% plays on fire, and only 11 since February. So these are strong and rare plays. Teddy, man, I've obviously taken apart this NFL board backwards, sideways, frontwards, every other word you can think of. And, I'm sitting here and I still haven't finalized my card for Sunday, but I'm going to tell everybody now. I'm curious about everyone's thoughts. I like Chicago, Carolina, Denver. Now I'm kind of leaning on the Rams. I don't think I can get to the window on any of those. I am scared out of my mind on all. I like the Titans. Like, oh my God, these are ugly, ugly plays, Teddy. So there you go, guys. I'm not going to get to the win. I will not have the balls to bet those plays. I guarantee you they'll all win. Teddy covers. What did bettors learn?
You're going to guarantee me? What are you guaranteeing me with that they all win?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Say, I think they're all going to win. My prediction is many of them are going to win. Not, I guarantee. It's a lock. They're all going to win. Let's talk about what we learned last night. I want to talk about Southfield, Michigan. I went to school in Ann Arbor. You know, I was a U of M graduate. I spent about a dozen years in Michigan. I still consider it home in many ways. And Detroit certainly has some colorful suburbs. Southfield, Michigan might take the case. No, it might take the cake. Nothing ever surprised me when it happened to Southfield. It's a real potpourri of people, and it is one of the most bizarre places that you can hang out in. Here's a story out of Southfield this week. A Southfield, Michigan man is facing 8 felony charges related to sports betting violations, according to the Michigan Gaming Control Board. Joint investigation between the Michigan Department of the Attorney General and the Michigan Gaming Control Board after Caesars Entertainment alerted authorities about a suspected fraud involving a mobile betting account. This is what this guy did with the Caesars app. Jeffrey Sacco allegedly exploited a vulnerability in Caesars' system in 2023. In 16 days, he made over $2 million in bets, nearly 10,000 bets during that span. Sorry. He made more than $2 million in fictitious deposits. He had a loophole where he was making fake deposits into the account, and the account was reading it as real. He made 10,000 bets, totaling more than $88 million in 16 days. And then he took about $500,000 and put it in his own personal account and then said, bye-bye. Now, the details are just starting to come out. But note this. Some random dude just signs up for an account. In 16 days, he makes 10,000 bets for $88 million, and it didn't raise a single red flag at Caesars. That's the kind of thing that you're supposed to have checks and balances for, that the sports books talk about. Hey, we're going to notice this type of stuff. And they didn't. And it cost them $500,000. And we're freaking out, fake deposits. The checks should be better. That wouldn't happen in Nevada. That's what I learned yesterday, Lawrence. Back to you.
Teddy, how's this going to end? Are they going to go after that money?
We'll find out in the hearing. The hearing's 2 weeks. So it's one of those stories that I'm interested in, so I will keep you abreast. But yeah, when you're betting $88 million in a 16-day span and they never heard of you before, someone's supposed to notice that.
You would think we should get somebody from Caesars on to discuss it with us. Anybody from Caesars who wants to come on our show to discuss that and maybe where the money is going, just let us know. Ross Benjamin joining us. Ross, huge fan of yours, my brother. Huge fan. You know that. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm not from Caesars, so we're going to discuss some games.
Fair enough, Ross. Just to let you know, last week, I think on Thursday's show, I might have made fun of you a little bit, but I'm not going to tell you what I said. I'm not going to tell you what I said. You're going to have to search the archives. And yes, what else is new? It is with love. As I was trying to explain to Tokyo Brandon yesterday after the show when I had to talk him off a ledge, it is with love. I only make fun of people I love. Okay.
Yeah.
Ohio.
I gathered that.
Plus 20 over Kentucky. How do we bet this game?
You know, this is an oddity. You go from being a 20-point dog the week before to being a 20-point home favorite the week after. So it's that's a 40-point swing. Kentucky nearly pulled off a monumental upset last week as a 20-point home dog, losing to Georgia 13-12. Up next, the Wildcats have the number 5 Ole Miss Rebels, which, by the way, Teddy, my power ratings and my personal eye test, I think Ole Miss is the best team in the country right now, but that's me. Getting back to the matter at hand, in between, they are facing a sandwich game against a team from the MAC in Ohio. And look, if Kentucky watched the film last week on Ohio, they were lackluster at best. 21-6 home win over Morgan State. They turned the ball over 4 times, and they didn't even come close to covering as a 25-point favorite. So to me, you're coming off the then number 1 team in the country, Georgia, to now number 2. And number 5 up next. And in between, you got this Ohio team that, if you look at the film, like I said, was extremely unimpressive and uninspiring last week. But speaking of Ohio, the first 2 games came against FBS opponents, Syracuse and South Alabama, and they covered as a dog on each occasion. They lost to Syracuse 38-22, but keep in mind, folks, in that game, they racked up well over 400 yards of total offense and ran for over 250 yards. And then against South Alabama, they did more of the same. Over 200 yards passing, over 200 yards rushing. This is a team and a program that's won 10 or more games in each of the last 2 seasons. They're well coached, and they're going to be facing a Kentucky team that, despite that close call last week against Georgia, I can't ignore the fact that their offense has been absolutely anemic. 16.3 points per game, 261.3 yards per game. And one of those contests in the first 3 came against an FCS opponent, I believe. Their opening game, they were against an overmatched opponent. Either way, their passing attack is just brutal. 109 yards per game. Their quarterbacks are completing just 50% of their passes. And their offensive line is terrible in terms of pass protection. South Carolina had a field day against them, sacking the quarterback 7 times. The quarterbacks have been under continual pressure. And I just think this is a very vulnerable spot for Kentucky, especially a team that struggles offensively. And I think Ohio is a much better team than what they displayed last week, Teddy. I'm going to take the points here. I'm going to take Ohio plus the 20 at Kentucky.
So Tim Albin's been the head coach at Ohio. This is his 4th season on the job. And I see 3 previous games where the Bobcats have gone up and faced an FCS opponent on the road. They played at Northwestern. They lost 35-6, did not cover. They played at Penn State. They lost 46-10, did not cover. They played at Iowa State 42-10, lost and did not cover. I know they beat Iowa State in the revenge match last year at home, but here they're on the highway. The track record clearly shows neither the offense or defense has worked in games like this in the past. My question for you is Ohio good enough?
Who did Ohio play in the season opener? Syracuse.
This year?
That's an
Syracuse. Yeah. So I guess they covered that game by a hook. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, and your point is – go ahead, sir.
I want to say Syracuse in the same category as Kentucky.
Syracuse is not in the same category as Kentucky? You
I
haven't
got
watched
Kentucky a notch or two, but
well, you know what? You ought to readjust that, Teddy, and you ought to take a look at what Syracuse does offensively. I think you're vastly underrating Syracuse. They're head and shoulders better than Kentucky, in my estimate. That's just my opinion. You're entitled to yours.
Sure. I gotta say, Ross, and maybe it's because you are so wise, but the way you put Teddy in his place twice in the last minute, it was so polite. It was so polite with so much class. Instead of saying, Teddy, you're wrong about week 1, you said, who did they play week 1, Teddy? Therefore allowing him to notice he's wrong without you telling him. A lesson learned, everybody. I mean, Ross.
Look, let me make it clear. My intent is not to make Teddy look bad. And his intent, when he asks these questions, he's doing his job. And his intent isn't to make me look bad as well. Mistakes are going to happen. And I think the banner is beneficial to the viewers out there from both ends. So let me make it clear.
I love this guy, Teddy. I'm telling you, I man crush on Ross Benjamin. Okay.
Every week.
I man crush on Dan Campbell. I have become a Detroit Lions fan. I haven't been a fan of any NFL team since Roger Starbuck and Danny White. and Jeff Hogaboom for a
Rather
reference that
Starbucks.
nobody has heard in a long, long time. But now I do cheer for the Lions, and they are playing Arizona. And one thing we know about Daniel Campbell, he does not take losing well. And losing at home in a humiliating fashion, 2 interceptions by Goff, a team that stunk. Now they're on the road playing Arizona. Man, I love Detroit here. I think Arizona's market value is sky high. Where are you going, brother? I'm curious as hell how you're betting this game.
Well, I think we'll see some bettors overreact to Detroit losing last week and then Arizona absolutely lambasting the Rams 41-10 at home. And it was an impressive performance by the Cardinals, but let's keep things in perspective. That's a Rams team that's been hit hard with injuries. They lost Puka Nacua in week 1. He did not play last week. And then Cooper Kupp early in the second quarter went out with an injury as well. So they're out without their 2 starting wide receivers. Arizona hasn't won back-to-back games, Prez, since 12-13 of 2021. As a matter of fact, they're 0-8 straight up in their last 8 after a win. Since 2022, Detroit is 4-0 straight up in ATS off a 2-game homestand with Dan Campbell in charge. Here's the more important thing that Prez brought up, and it was a very astute point. Detroit coming off a 20-16 home loss to Tampa Bay. The Lions under Dan Campbell are 8-0 straight up in ATS in their last 8 after a loss. The average line, they were laying 3.9, and the point per game differential just a shade under 16 points per game. They won those 8 contests by. And let's also keep in mind, when we look at that loss last week against Tampa Bay, Detroit, you can make a strong case Detroit beat themselves, Prez, because they outgained the Bucs in that game by 247 yards. So that result is a tad bit misleading, although it is a loss. And that's all people are going to remember. Here's the other thing. Since 2019, all NFL road favorites at 3 or less, like Detroit, they're facing a team that's coming off a straight up an ATS win in which they covered by 28 points or more, and they scored 40 points or more. Not a huge sample size, but NFL road favorites at 3 or less in that exact situation have gone 7-0 straight up in ATS since 2019 with an average victory margin of 12.7 points per game. So, Theodore, you guessed it. I like the Detroit Lions here, lay to 3 on the road against Arizona.
Are you worried at all about the Lions injury report? I'm seeing a bunch of problems for Detroit on the defensive side in particular, all 3 units. They got defensive line injuries, linebacker injuries, and injuries in the secondary. Arizona's moved the football pretty well the first 2 weeks of the season. Does Detroit's defensive injuries temper your enthusiasm at all?
It's all factored into the line is the way I look at things, Teddy, although that is a pertinent point to bring up. And I stop worrying when I wake up in the morning and I know I'm alive for another day to answer part of your question. In any event, yes, to me, it's all factored into the line. You look at Arizona's defense, they've given up a ton of yards in the first 2 games. Even in the game against the Rams, they held them to 10 points, but they gave up a lot of yards against a team that was depleted on the outside, like I just alluded to. So although that is taken into consideration, there's, it's not out of the question they could win a game like 38-34 here, and their defense could be something that might almost cost them the game. But I just think Detroit's firepower on offense, the fact that they're disappointed in last week only putting up 16 points, despite putting up over 400 yards of offense, I think that will outweigh the injury concerns on the defensive side of the ball, Teddy.
Ross, there's a reason we have you on every week. I could listen to you talk forever. Thanks, my brother. What do you got to promote for the clients?
Well, I appreciate your kind words, Prez. Look at college football. Last weekend, 6-0 sweep, folks, including a 5% top play on Baylor minus 16.5. They win by 28 against Air Force. That now makes my 5% top place since February 4th, 26-11, 71%. College football since September 9th of last year, guys, been on an absolute roll. It's 71-48 during that period of time. That's good for 60%, and a net profit of $4,811 based on our grading system. Here's the thing I want to emphasize with people too. I hear a lot of you out there with your concerns in early season handicapping. Well, look no farther, because since I joined the SM/WagerTalk Network, or as Prez said, WagerTalk Media, since 2021, my September picks in all sports, and more than 90% of those picks were in NFL and college football, 133-88, good for 60%, and a profit of $12,563. College football, folks, right now, I just gave you the numbers. Numbers don't lie and liars don't figure. That's what I like to say. I don't know what you're waiting for, because right now they're running a special for me at my personal link, wt.buzz/RB. College football from now until Sunday, special offer, $3.99 through the rest of the season, goes right through the national championship game. Prez, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, it does, Ross. You could own Wager Talk and just log in. Ross Benjamin, everyone. We love you, Ross. Teddy covers, man. It's a fun show today. We got lots more. Dave Sharapan waiting in the wings. What is your big game? Oh, guys, we need some likes, please. We're only at 55 likes. We need to get to 100 for my daily presidential address. So please hit that like button. Theodore, your big game breakdown.
Let's talk about the 49ers and the Rams. Look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. I'm seeing San Fran, a 7-point road favorite, total sitting at 44. And let's start it with some really great info that Ralph Michaels was kind enough to drop for me this morning. The San Francisco 49ers off a loss as an away favorite of -3 or higher. Well, since 2017, teams off a loss as an away favorite of -3 or higher, and now away again. How about 27-11 against the spread, 71%, and also 28-12 to the under in those ball games. That's certainly worth noting. But our question here is, San Fran good enough to be laying a touchdown right now? Look, right now, the Niners are ranked 30th in the NFL in total defense. They gave up 7.5 yards per play last week. Some of that had to do with the long Jefferson touchdown, the 97-yarder. Certainly, that will affect their defensive stats. But Purdy was sacked 6 times in that game. They had 2 turnovers. Not like the offense moved the ball up and down the field. The quote after the game from Brock Purdy: "We got the players, we got the scheme, we've got what it takes. It's dropping back and executing, getting the ball into our guys' hands." Clearly, that's what they need to do. However, here they need to do it and win by more than a touchdown. And San Fran has shown a propensity for losing streaks in the Shanahan era, especially early in the season. They had a 3-game skid last year. They had a 2-game skid in 22. They had a 4-game skid in 2021. And those were all elite teams. They combined for 6 playoff wins and a trip to the Super Bowl. So we've seen consistently in the Shanahan era some early season struggles. I don't feel comfortable laying this price with San Fran on the highway. That being said, I want no part of the Rams right now. You know, we saw 41-10 last week. My clients and I cashed an easy winner with Arizona in that ball game. You have injuries everywhere, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. But the key is the offensive line, which is banged up, missing multiple starters. That's not real good when you're facing San Francisco. The running game didn't work last week. Kyron Williams, just 25 yards. That's against Arizona. They were sacked 5 times. Stafford was sacked 5 times in that ball game. I'm not convinced that changes here. It's an offense right now that is struggling in many, many different ways. So when we talk about an LA offense that's struggling, a 49ers offense that's dicey, a trend that's dicey right now, a trend towards unders in games like this one, hell yeah, we'll go under. Look for San Fran, LA to stay under the total, 46.5, the current number. You can take $100 off any college football / NFL combo season pass right now. Just use promo code FBALL100 at checkout to take advantage of that offer. You get every play, every day, college football and the NFL all season long. It's a great offer. Don't buy a play, buy a package. You get $100 off right now with promo code FBALL100. And of course, we appreciate the likes. We appreciate the follows. And if you have your opinion, share it in the comments below. Lawrence, back to you, my friend.
Teddy, I really love that San Fran LA handicap. It sounded to me like you watched the NFL presidential address. I actually prefer the under Rams team total. I think they're going to struggle to put up 13 points. But I love that handicap. It's exactly where my mind was at. But we got to keep this moving. We got 9 minutes till a hard out. Dave Sharapan joining us. Dave, the Atlanta Falcons +3 against Kansas City. Who do you like in that game?
Well, I mean, you have to like the Falcons like everybody else, right? They can't lose. They came back and beat the Eagles, so they're going to the Super Bowl. They're winning the division. They're going to represent the NFC. This is the ultimate overreaction to everything. I mean, again, they're still 3.5 point dogs. They were 4.5 point dogs. They're no longer that.
Yeah.
Because and all that early money, all that sharp guys and the rhombuses and parallelograms, they gobbled it all up. It's gone. Bye-bye.
Dave, I love this parallelogram stuff. This is your signature move. Brother, let's talk tonight's football game, and then I'll hand the mic over to Teddy. Thursday night, I've got a bunch of guys coming over to the house. We're going to swim, hot tub, have a barbecue, watch the game in the cabana. Whoa. It's going to be great. I have a bet on it as well. I'm curious as hell what Dave Sharapan is doing in this game. And also, what are you hearing out there?
For tonight's game?
Yeah.
Is that what
Did I not say that?
Well, no, you threw me off with this big party with all these people coming over, and you guys
you're
all
invited.
getting in the hot tub
You're
together.
invited, Dave.
Oh, bullshit. I know I'm not invited. You don't even invite me to dinner when you come to town. Please, don't tell me I'm invited when you know I can't come. It's an old school move. Nobody likes it. Everybody likes you, though, Prez. The game tonight, who knows? This is one of those ones. No, you're right. Nobody. That's true. Not everybody likes
half
you.
And half.
That's what I've been told. I would say less than half.
Take the under.
More than half. Oh, yeah, I was going to say take the under. It's
a good call, Dave.
Focus. Yeah, we have a hard out. You pushed me back all this time. Sorry. No idea what to. I mean, this is really a perfect number because you're getting betting on both sides. Now, every week you guys ask me, like, have you talked to anybody, any bookmakers, anybody in the books? It's amazing because after the last week, nobody's even working. Everybody took off. The public got crushed. No, they're planning vacations in Bora Bora or ski trips with Prez in February when the Super Bowl's going on. Nobody has to work when you're a bookie and you take all the bets that you take over this past weekend. So I haven't talked to anybody about this game. I'm watching the baseball, Prez.
So let me ask you this. You know, you talked about how the books have done particularly well the first 2 weeks of the season in the NFL.
Yeah.
Is that bad for season-long handle? Do bettors get wiped out early and then they're done? Talked about that as a bookmaker perspective. Do you want your clients to win early in the season?
Ideally,
or at least break even?
At least break even, Theodore. You want to trade a little bit of money. You can't have like almost every single decision go your way on Sunday like it did. And then you come over the top with Monday. Like the get-back game Monday was the Falcons. And the Falcons, the Eagles gave them that game. The end of that game was mismanaged. The whole game was somewhat mismanaged, not taking points. So, yes, it puts a dent in the handle because everybody comes with both fists loaded up. Their accounts are ready to fire. You know, they're buying packages here. They're getting, different accounts set up and all this other stuff. And then they get crushed. So now, I was in a book yesterday and a guy said, "Hey, Dave, NBA starts in 5 weeks." I'm like, football just started. What are you worried about the NBA for? Enjoy the football at least for a little while. But yeah, between that and Survivor, Theodore, a lot of people are out and they're going, man, the NFL, it's rigged. Oh, it's this, it's that. It's nonsense. It's hard. The NFL is the hardest market to beat in any sports betting there is.
That being said, what's going on in the NFL this week? Tell me what you said everyone's out of town. That's what people want to bet. That's the excitement level. And there's nothing. I mean, football is king. Football has been king, and NFL is the king of football. So it is what it is. Yeah. And they're entertaining games. They're exciting to bet on. And when you do well, you can make a bunch of money. So talk about what you're seeing and hearing when it comes to the NFL this weekend here in Las Vegas.
Well, there's a couple things that I think right now, at least on Thursday, we need to talk about. The game tonight, probably an under. Okay, that's just a little bit of birdies talking, but who knows? I mean, the number's sitting perfect. Sunday, just go down the rotation order. Steelers are favored. How can they be favored? They didn't beat anybody. They beat Atlanta, and they beat Denver. And Justin Fields stinks. They have 2 wins and 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. I mean, everybody's betting the Chargers. Chargers are going to end up pick 'em or favored by the time the game kicks Sunday. Bears and Colts, interesting game. Who really thinks the Bears are good? Nobody. Colts there. Let's see. Wow. The move on the Eagles and Saints was incredible. Like one of those ones that, man, the Saints are – if the Falcons aren't going to the Super Bowl, the Saints are. Playing the Saints. Packers and Titans. Is Love going to play? You'll see a huge line move if he does. Still think the Packers are better. The Titans, Will Levis just keeps making mistakes. Lions and Cardinals. How do you not like the Lions after listening to Ross and then coming over the top with Prez? Got to be the Lions. Sunday, Niners and Rams. The Rams got to be one of the biggest disappointments and teams in trouble. So you got to really – I like your big game breakdown better. The total is probably to play under. Chiefs, Falcons. I mean, the books would love to need the Chiefs on Sunday. I don't think they will because that public money will come on the Chiefs. But right now, everybody's betting the Falcons. All the early money. Falcons. Monday night, Theodore, there's 2 games. Bengals are going to blow out the Commanders. And I don't know about the Jags and the Bills. I don't know what to make of the Jags and the Bills on Monday night. But I don't know why is there 2 Monday night games staggered by 45 minutes. Prez, can you explain that?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. No drama.
We got just a moment left with
1 minute.
Just a few minutes left here with Dave Sharapan at SportsBK and Sig on Twitter, the Sportsbook Conciliary. Dave, you're trying to say something. What is it you're trying to say right there?
No, I wanted to get out of here because if it's a hard out, I don't want to take up the presidential address time. Everybody's waiting for the presidential address. And if there's nothing left for me here, then I'm going to get out of here on the Detroit Tigers are going to make the playoffs. Less than a month ago, they were 30-1 to make the playoffs. They're plus 140 this morning. They're the hottest team in baseball. That's not just for Johnny Detroit. I'm rooting for this team. I think they can win a playoff series if they get in a 3-game series with Schoolboy at the top. They're not playing today. Watch the baseball. We only got 11 days left. I'm out. I'll wait. I'm putting
Dave,
my glasses on for the presidential address.
I got a quick question.
Please do.
Can you – Tokyo Brandon's glasses. That's where they are.
No, these are mine.
Dude, I want to see a picture of your closet, all these hats and shirts. Like, do you have a separate room for them?
It's a bone of contention inside this house that if my wife's watching right now, I love you very much. And yes, it is a problem. Okay. I understand it is. And it's being organized. It was supposed to be organized by week 2 of the NFL, but we've been so busy doing, Bostonia versus the book and, Wager Talk on Thursdays and, MLB Network and all this other stuff every day, Sports Grid TV, Sirius XM Radio. Stuff's not organized, Prez. You're sounding like you're causing drama. I don't want any drama. Jess, if you're watching, I love you dearly. The hats will be put away by the weekend.
Take the over. Sharp money on the over. Dave Sharapan, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
You do.
Anything you want to say?
Thank you.
No, I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. And that's going to wrap it for the Thursday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. We appreciate all those likes and follows very much. If you have something to share, say it in the comments below. Thank you for doing so. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned right now for Lawrence's daily presidential address.
bonus content for all the live listeners at WagerTalk TV, watching WagerTalk Today every day, noon Eastern time. I'm Lawrence Presman, and I've got a pick for you on the Sunday night football matchup between Kansas City and Atlanta, and this is a client play. So I don't normally give these ones out. I love this play. Before we get into that, I want to point out that I think we only have a couple of days left of our early bird promotion for NBA and NHL. And guys who have followed me and know me, I have built a reputation on NHL betting. My NHL has been outstanding. And if you're going to play me in NHL, buy it now, $595 for the entire season. With that said, it is my NBA the last 2 years that has absolutely dominated. I'm up 95 units in 2 years of NBA betting. And again, if you are going to play my NBA for the season, grab it now, only $595. Okay, let's get into this game. Kansas City playing Atlanta. And, you know, when I did the NFL presidential address, Kansas City was minus 4.5. I knew that line was not going to last. It just felt like a wise guy play of the week, and it really is. Now we have Atlanta at plus 3.5. And guys, I'll tell you right off the bat, I love this spot for Atlanta. More importantly, I hate this spot for Kansas City. So let's get into this game. Pacheco is out till week 7. Edwards-Helaire isn't playing. This team has running back issues, and that is a big issue because it sets up the pass. It also opens up the slot for Travis Kelce. If they do not have a balanced offense, I don't expect Kansas City's offense to be world class. That is a huge loss for them. Now, let's talk about the spot that Kansas City finds themselves in. Kansas City started the season playing 2 major rivals. Both Baltimore and Cincinnati are going to be vying for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Now, I know that didn't end up the way it did, with Baltimore down 2 games already. But in game 1, Kansas City was expecting Baltimore to be playing against them for home field advantage. Same within game 2 against Cincinnati. So here we have a situation where Kansas City had to have a very high emotional state to play both Baltimore and the Bengals. And then they get on the road and they go and they play out of conference against Atlanta. Who cares? With the 2-0 division rival LA Chargers waiting in the win next week. That is what Marco calls a sandwich game. And this is exactly what it is. Kansas City, after 2 huge emotional victories against 2 huge rivals on the road, with a huge game coming up the following week. Terrible spot for Kansas City. On top of that, they are lucky to be 2-0. This team easily could be 0-2. The Ravens dominated Kansas City. They were 99 more yards in Kansas City in the game, and they literally missed a chance to win the game by a toenail. As for the Bengals, Kansas City was 1 pass interference call away from losing that game. Now, as for the Falcons, there is a lot to like about this team. First off, Kansas City, as we spoke about, is in a horrible spot. But think about the spot that Atlanta is in. This is an Atlanta team that was just about to be 0-2 and looking forward to their next game to try turn their season around. Not anymore. After an incredible, mind-blowing brain cramp after fart, after diarrhea from a horrible coach in Philadelphia, they marched down the field. Philadelphia didn't play prevent defense. They made up a defense, dropping their safeties so low. Atlanta gets the win, gets out of Philadelphia. They have to be feeling incredible about themselves. They turned their entire season around in 2.5 minutes of football. They are going to be rolling now. Okay, so where are we at? Well, I've given you everything. I really like this Atlanta team. I think they're in a great spot. I think they're feeling good. They're emotionally high. I don't like the spot Kansas City is in. I think there's going to be an emotional dump. It's a letdown spot. It's a sandwich spot. I think Atlanta wins this game outright at plus 150. I would prefer you take the points only because the hook is there at plus 3.5. But if this line drops to Atlanta plus 2.5 and minus 140, take them on the money line. That's it for the daily presidential address. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you on the Friday show, WagerTalk.com.